Okay.
You have done it already now. Click on that plus. My SQL connection. Click on that plus. No,
This one?
down. Yes, yes. Click on it. Let me see. Uh, did you create a username and password?
I'm not.
You did not.
Yes.
Why you installing it now? Did he ask you for a password? Did you put any password?
No, 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 no.
You didn't put password.
Yes.
Okay, click test connection. Let me see. Hmm. Unable to connect to local host. Hmm. Click OK there. It's supposed to have connected. It's supposed to have connected straight. Uh, hello, Kasim. You say you can't hear. Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, that's fine. So please enter a proper name for your connection. Let's see. So close that. Click OK. Let me see. Click OK. Connection name. Use normally it's supposed to have appeared here. Oh, yeah, try and this means my SQL is not installed or is not running. So you have not reinstalled. You have not installed that. This you didn't install it properly. Did you skip everything? What did you skip when you were
I
installing
just
it?
keep anything, you know.
Oh, you
No,
just
no,
follow
no.
the. You just
No,
follow
it
that
will
file,
ask.
right?
Yes.
It will ask because it asked me, but I didn't do it.
Because yours is not installed. That's why. Go ahead. Click on file. Let me see. New model. Let's see new model. But your new model will give you. Uh-huh. Click on. Let me see. There's a DBMS there, but it's not showing the database. It has not. You have not installed the database yet, so I think we have to reinstall this thing again.
Okay, I should understand it.
Uninstall it and reinstall again.
Okay.
Yeah. So with this one I have worked. With this, the one I have, will it work?
Which one?
My Oracle, that is SQL, my Oracle.
It should work. It should work, but we'll try and see how we work around the syntax. It should work. They are the basic. It's basic. This thing now. It should work. Some parts will work. Some will not work. Then we will not work around it. Okay. You can just uninstall this. Uninstall it. Uninstall it. Uninstall it and reinstall again. Kasim. Is Kasim here? Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Have you installed yours?
I just joined today.
Oh, you're just joining. Okay.
Yes. So I'll have to watch the previous.
Yes, there is a link on the canvas. You know how to access the canvas?
Yes. Yes, I can.
So
So
download
which link?
my SQL. On the
Where do I get the link?
It's on your dashboard. Can you see my screen is sharing, right?
Yes.
Download my SQL workbench. Okay.
My SQL workbench.
Where's our downloads? Downloads. Trial, not that's the enterprise version. So my SQL workbench there. So this for Microsoft if you are using any other version.
Okay.
Download. Go to download page. Let's see. Now look at it. Can you see this one?
Yes.
So the one you downloaded, what was the size?
No, I'm trying to do it now.
Yeah, no, you can continue. Oluwaseun, when you downloaded, what was the size of the one you downloaded?
I'm coming now.
Check the size because this is the full one. Because if you downloaded the other one of 42 megabytes, that one may not work. This is the full one here.
This one is 43.
This for 435 megabytes.
Okay, the one I'm seeing now is 422. Sorry, it's 42.2. 42.2.
No. So
It's
when you go
43.
back, look at it here. Can you see? This is 42, right?
Yes.
Yes.
These other downloads. Can you see? Go to download page.
Okay. Then download the 435.
Yes, this is the one you
Oh.
download. That I wanted you guys to do it. Then
How
you
do
just
you
say,
get this? How do you get this?
look at it now.
Okay.
Let's start again. So you have opened this page here. Can you see downloads?
Yes.
Good. Just come down. Can you see your downloads? My SQL workbench here.
Okay.
Click that. Then it will tell you my SQL installer for Windows, right? This is other. So say go to download page. Have you seen it now?
Yes,
Then-
I'm with you now.
Then can you see this one, this last one here? Then download.
But it took me to a page where that, yeah. It
Yeah,
brought me
take you
here.
to this page. They now say no thanks, just my download.
Okay.
Then you start downloading it. Okay, then you start downloading it. Now, if you look at that video, just follow the whole process there. And because mine is already installed already, so. But if you don't have enough data now, you can just wait after the session. You can install it. But
So the video you're talking about, is it the one from yesterday? Because I'm just done.
no, there's a link. No, there's a link on the download video. There was a link. When you go to your canvas, right? You just look for
Yes.
SQL under SQL section. Just go to the last. You see on the last this thing there. You see a link, a video there.
Is it a
Take
video?
to
Is it?
Yes.
Is it the SQL? Oh, the introduction to database design or?
No, not database design. There's a link there installing. I can't remember the. Let me check. Let me check the name of the file. Canvas. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
This is Excel. After Excel, can you see SQL?
Yeah, I found it in down now. Yeah.
So you will see. I think that is it. Yes, introduction to database design.
Okay.
So, let me see. Let to see why open yes new windows. No, this is too. All right. Okay, no. This was yesterday's video.
Yeah.
That was yesterday's video. Let me check where
Okay.
that particular one is. That was yesterday's video.
Okay.
Maybe I not copy it and drop it somewhere else. Okay, don't worry. I will just put it there again.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, that's fine. But that's the site. Just follow. Just download that this thing, then just follow up. Okay. So that's just
Yeah.
basically it. All right. So let us just quickly, because we have not started the coding yet, so you have not missed much.
Okay.
We just started the introduction to SQL. Okay, and we'll just do a quick recap of what we did yesterday. Uh, okay, so yesterday we have made some assumptions, right? That we are not programmers, and most likely we have installed MySQL, but I've seen most of us have not installed MySQL. And we know how to use a computer, that we know how to do simple install, isn't it? Okay. And at the beginning, we mentioned that if you are looking at the whole data analytics pipeline, we think about it in this sense that first of all, there's a problem in the organization. Based on the problem, we ask certain questions. Okay. To answer those questions, we need to get what? Data. So we get the data, we analyze the data, we visualize the data. So that's just the basic three things we are going to be looking at. So that's major our focus. But for most organizations, after you have done your visualization, you now publish it to the web so that every other person can what, see it and work on it together. And also you can also consume it, okay, in terms of producing it to a tablet or a mobile phone, okay, or to the web. Okay, but so our focus basically was looking at the extraction of the data, analyzing the data, and visualizing the data. Okay, and we said that most time, where is that database? That data stored is stored in what? A database. And we said that a database is just a container for storing what? Data. Okay, and there are two types of database. We can have the manual and we have the computer based. Okay, so when we say manual, it means it can be your phone book. Your phone book can be a database. Your brain is also a database. Your filing cabinet is a database. Okay, but in this case, we are looking at what? Computer based. Okay, automated ones. So just understanding that a database is just a collection of data that is organized, that we can easily what? Retrieve the data or access the data, manage it, update it whenever we want. And we said that the software that we use for the database is called what? The database management what? System, DBMS. Okay. But you notice that for most of us, we are used to Excel, isn't it? We are used to what? Excel. And because we are used to Excel, most times people will say that, we are not a big company, so why am I bothering myself with learning a new software? Okay. Why am I learning a new software? And because of that, we now notice that most organizations, they usually still keep the data in Excel. Okay, because you know Excel is user friendly, is it not? Easy to use, very flexible. Okay, you can just create tables, mesh tables, cell, add comments, do your pivot tables, plot your chart and graph. Okay, but you see, with that flexibility comes a risk. Okay, one is that because Excel is easy to use, so it is mostly the most abused software because you use it as the data, you use it as the analysis, you use it as everything. If in case you want to show some certain data, it will bring out all your data at once, exposing your data at once. Meanwhile, you only want to show a particular part. Okay, so with that, you see, those risks also have implication for organizations because these days data is now becoming a huge asset, a vital asset for any organization. Okay, But the thing is that, so no matter how small the organization is, just take note, Excel is not a database in itself. You cannot use it as a database tool, because we have agreed that how many rows does Excel have? How many rows do we have in Excel?
1 million.
16 million, 16 million.
Okay.
About 16
1
million.
million plus.
How many rows do we have in Excel?
About 16 million plus.
It's not up to 16, no. It's around 1 million plus. So. 1
How
million,
many
maybe
rows
110.
do we have in Excel?
There are 16 million rows.
But the rows is about
The rows is what?
1 million plus.
1,048,000 what?
Don't know.
1 million
Uh,
48,576.
576. How many columns do we have in Excel?
16,000.
16,000 what?
About 16,000.
Okay, about 16,000. So you see, if you want to enter data about 2 million, you cannot handle that in Excel. So you see, Excel now becomes limited in that case. Okay, but you see, most people, they will say, their excuse that why they don't want to learn another thing is that it's too hard to go and learn another software. Or another excuse can be that our data is not large enough. But remember that every year that business is growing, transactions are also growing. Okay, so when your transactions get to about 1 million plus, what will now happen? Okay, you see, as the data grows over time, it now becomes less manageable in Excel. So that is why you must always move it towards a data base. Okay, but remember again that not all the data we need is usually stored in Excel. Sometimes they can be in an ERP. Okay, so we need to now move that data, and because it's so large, so we now need to put it somewhere. Most time we refer to that as what? A database. Okay, as a data base. And now the softwares that we use can either be Oracle, isn't it? My SQL is also Oracle, but the difference is that this Oracle is like the enterprise version. Okay, this is the paid version. This is the open source. MySQL is the open source. You have Microsoft SQL Server. You have SQLite. You have Postgres. All these are what? DBMS. Or sometimes you call them the flavors. Okay? The flavors. Okay? And we say that DBMS usually deals with relational database. Okay? And we mentioned that it can also be applied in any organization. Can be applied in any organization. Okay, whether it's in a school, whether it is in the office, in the banks, airline, telecom, finance, accountants, HR, it can be applied anywhere. Okay, and then one of the reasons why we decided to use MySQL, we said one, it is open source, anybody can use it. It is also very easy to use. Okay, very easy to use, and we are going to see that. Now, we looked at some concepts in database, and one of them was relational database. That when we have one big Excel file, what is that Excel file called? We have one Excel file. What is it called?
Flat file.
It's called a flat file, you know. And sometimes that flat file, the size of the data can be very large, isn't it? And because it's large, imagine you want to do an update. Okay, you see how it may take time, or you tell you Excel is not responding. So rather, we want to break that big table into smaller tables and have a way to link them together. So that's what we refer to as a relational database. Okay, So instead of having them in one page, we'd rather break them into two tables and now find a way to bring them together, link them together. That's what we refer to as relational. Okay. So remember we said that a table is a database, but not all database are tables. Okay, because when we're talking about a database, a table is just an object in a database. So a database is more than tables. Okay, and we are going to see that. And this is what we are trying to explain, that rather than having it in one place, we just link them together. Okay, so this is what we refer to as what? A relational database. Okay, and we said that for every table, there must be something uniquely identifying it. And what is that called?
Primary key.
It's called what? The primary what? Key. Isn't it? It's called the primary key. In your student table, what is the primary key there?
Student ID.
Student what? ID. On enrollment table, we also have student ID there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And student ID there is called what?
Foreign key.
Foreign key.
The foreign key. Because that is how these two tables can be related. Because I can connect this table to this table. Okay. And our objective is to ensure that we have what? A one-to-many what? Relationship. Okay. So when we talk about the relationship, technically we refer to it as what? Cardinality. Isn't it? So what we have is one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, many-to-many relationship. But what we want to get is what? A one-to-many what? Relationship. Okay? Because that is how we can easily what? Relate the tables together. Because if it's many-to-many, you see that you don't have the items here, you don't have the items here. When you merge them together, your data is just quite large. Okay? But we want to be ensured that the table is as efficient as what possible. And we looked at some database terms, and one of them was what? Tables. Okay? And just like in Excel, we have seen that a table is made up of what? Rows and what? Columns.
Columns with cells.
Okay? And most time, that's why we say we can refer to a table as a database, okay? But remember, we have plenty tables, but we have to link those tables together. And that's what we refer to as what? A relational database. Okay, so this is a typical table with rows and columns. But now those rows and columns in database concepts, for your columns, we call them what?
Attribute.
Fields.
Fields. They are called what? The fields or attributes. Okay, fields or what? Attributes. Okay, then your rows are called what? Your records. Records, okay. Then we look at the keys that we have what? A primary and what? Foreign what? Key. And we understand why they are important, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So because every table must have a way of uniquely identifying it, which we refer to as what? The primary key. Okay. But for you to be able to link that table with another table, you need another key there, which now becomes what? A foreign key. Okay. So this is what we are talking about here. So this is student table. So in this table, this is the primary key. Course ID is course table. And we also have course ID here. So this, in this case, this is the primary key, this is the foreign key. But for us to link these two tables together, we now need what? To connect it with this foreign key. This is the relationship. So this is what we refer to as what? A relational what? Database. Okay, and again, we mentioned that we need to also break down these tables into smaller parts. Okay, and that process is known as what? Data what? Normalization. The process of what? Organizing the data is to become more what? Efficient. So rather than having one big table, we should have what? Smaller what? Tables. But we can break them into two parts. We can have one part called what? The fact table or your transaction table. Isn't it? And the other table is called what?
Dimension table.
Your dimension table, or what?
Lookup
Or what?
table.
Or
Lookup
lookup table, yes, or your lookup table. Now remember that this your fact table. In terms of the relationship, what relationship are we looking for?
Many.
One
What?
to many.
One to many. If I ask, what cardinality are we looking for?
One to many.
One to many, is it not? So cardinality also means the relationship there. That's the technical name, cardinality. So one to many, okay? Now, this our dimension, this is our one. It means, for example, in your customer table, you can have 1,000 transactions, but only 10 customers. So you are looking at the dimension in terms of what? A customer. So that's your customer table. You may have 10 unique customers, which means they can only appear once in that table. So this is the one.
Okay.
But these are the transactions that can happen. You can have 1,000 transactions, but only that 10 customers. It is not 10,000 customers or 1,000 customers there.
Sorry,
You
coach.
understand that?
So this fact, what's it called? You can have multiple same customer with multiple transactions on
Yes,
it.
now, because one customer can come today, can come tomorrow, can come next tomorrow, but it's the same
Okay.
customer.
But in the dimension, it's just one. That name
One,
can just be
yes.
applied once.
One, just one. But here's the number of transactions he has had with you. So this is the many.
Yeah.
Okay. That is why when you are working with your your pivot table in Excel, even when we had maybe 10,000, 700 customers, once you just drag one customer, it will automatically go and look for all the transactions he has done with you and sum them up.
Yes.
That is what a one to many. Okay. And we have also seen that in asking your questions, you are asking about question of what? Who? Is it not? What? Is it not? Where? Is it not? When?
Yeah. How?
How? These are basic questions you're asking. So if I'm asking who is buying, you are basically looking at your what? Customer what? Table, isn't it? What are they buying? You are looking at what? Like your product table. Where do they buy? You are looking at what?
Location.
Location. When do they buy?
Time.
Date and time.
Date.
Looking at date and time. So can you see this one? Time dimension. This one we answer the question of when are they buying? How do they buy?
That's your channels.
Yes, your channels, exactly. These are your channels. Okay. So like this one we answer question of what? When, isn't it?
When.
This one we answer question of what?
Where?
Where? Is it not? This one we answer question of what?
Product or what?
What? Is it not? This one we answer question of what?
How?
Which one?
This
That is the
one.
bridge. It should be where too.
This is we also answer the question of what? Where? But remember, all these are your questions. All these dimensions are your questions. This one is your answer.
Yes. Facts table.
This is where your answers will come from. Because you want to analyze these your transactions by these dimensions. Okay? So we explained all this, that this and what we have presented here is called what? A star what schema. And this is what you are going to see in your Power BI when we are doing the data modeling. So that whole process, this what we have done here, how we have linked all these different tables together is called what? Your data modeling. You are modeling your data because you can have your your sales table, you are linking it with your what? Your time table, location table, branch table, product table, right? All you are building, that linking is called what? your data modeling. Okay. And we said we talked about another concept. I hope this is clear. Shay, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Kasim, are you following? Kasim, are you following?
I'm still I'm trying to get a hang of it because I missed yesterday's class.
Okay, I'm trying to get a hang of it. Okay, so
Yeah.
which concept are you not clear with?
Everything we're doing now.
Everything.
I guess I guess it was explained yesterday, right? Or
Yes. You know the saying, the saying that when you just come from sun inside the house, everywhere will be dark.
that's true.
But when you're staying in that dark place, gradually you start seeing now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want you to do is have it from a business mindset, right? That you are
Okay.
working in an organization, isn't it?
Yes.
So what's your role or what do you do working?
No, I'm a pharmacist.
Oh, you are a pharmacist. Okay. Just
Yes.
let's take it. You are a pharmacist, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you sell drugs, is it not?
Yes.
You sell drugs. So those sales of drugs is your fact table.
Okay.
Okay, that's your fact table. But you want to answer some certain questions. Who is buying? Isn't it? Because there are
Yes.
different customers that will come, is it not? You want to know who is buying, is it not? What do they buy? So that is the type of drugs they buy, isn't it?
Yes.
Whether it is off the counter drug or prescription drug, what are they buying? Where do they buy? You may have different branches, isn't it? So which branch are they going to the most?
Yes.
When do they buy? Do they buy in the morning, is it in the afternoon, or do they buy which particular day of the week do they buy more? You see, all you are doing is that as an analyst, you are trying to ask certain questions. Because if your sale is going down, there are certain questions you need to ask. Why is my sales going down? But to answer that question, you need data. Isn't it? And that data is stored somewhere. And where it's stored is called what? A database.
Yeah.
Okay. So based on that problem, there are certain questions you want to answer. And that's what we have drawn here. Who is buying? What are they buying? Where do they buy? When do they buy? How do they buy?
So what's the meaning of all this PK and FK?
Okay, this is primary key and this is foreign key. So primary key simply means that, look at student table. Can you see a student table here?
Yes.
Now, what uniquely identifies a particular student is his matric number.
Yes.
Isn't it? So that is what we refer to as the primary key.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
But you see that in another place, so for example, here we have course ID. In a student table, does course ID uniquely identify a student?
No.
No. But look at this. This is course table. Does course ID uniquely identify a course?
Yes.
Yes. It means that course ID becomes what?
Primary.
Primary key. But you see, in another table, the student table, we also have course ID. So the primary key in another table is now called what?
A foreign.
A foreign key. Because course ID was a primary key in this table, isn't it?
Yes.
But for you to link these two tables together to have a relationship, you need what? The foreign key.
Okay. I understand now.
You understand that? It's just like customers. Certain customer can buy Panadol. He can later decide to come and buy injection.
Yes.
But the category of drugs are different, but it's the same customer.
Yes.
So you will need the customer ID to link with maybe prescription drug, and you need him to maybe link him with off-the-counter drugs.
Yes.
But what uniquely identifies him is what? ID. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
So the point is that as data analysts, most of our data, we need to make decisions based on data. We need to make data-driven decisions. So because of that, we must always have a data what culture of always keeping what the data, and have at the back of your mind that the data you are keeping is going to be used for analysis sometime in the future. It may not be used today, but as you are keeping it, just have at the back of your mind you are going to use it sometime in the what future. Is that clear? And where this data is stored is called what? A database. Okay, but you see, you need to communicate with that database. You need to be speaking the language of that database. And what is that language called? It is called what? SQL. Structural Query Language.
Relational database management system.
Did you get that? Structural what? Query what? Language. That is the language. Irrespective of the flavors of the DBMS that you are using. When I say DBMS, what do I mean by DBMS?
Database management system.
The software, is it not? Whether it is Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server or Postgres or anyone, the language they speak is what? SQL. It's just like in the East, they speak, what is language in the East?
Should we say Igbo?
What language do they speak in the East?
Igbo predominantly.
Igbo, is it not? But,
Yeah.
but you have Delta Igbo, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it that they will not understand what they are saying?
Definitely they will.
They will, but you see there are minor differences, isn't it?
Yes.
That is how SQL is also. They are just minor different, but generally you'll be able to speak the same language. But when you go to the particular DBMS, there are now minor differences you now notice. But the general language is what? SQL, Structural Query what language. Okay? So why SQL, isn't it? So first of all, we have seen that based on the database, SQL cannot, once the data becomes very large, it becomes a problem. Okay? And you see that once you want to try to update, it takes time. But with SQL, a single line of code automatically, within a second, every other, if it's 2 million records, 10 million records, you know, less than 5 seconds, it has done everything you want to do. Okay? Now, you see, in Excel again, because it is widely abused, you just dump all your data in one place. You do analysis there, you do visualization there, you do everything in one place. But you see, sometimes when you are now looking for something, it is very difficult for you to start finding it, because sometimes just keep putting a space alone can make a whole difference. You may not even find it again. Then sometimes you also notice in your Excel data, there are some columns there that you don't even need. You just put them there. So they become redundant. And the bigger your table, the more space is taking. Okay? And again, you see, sometimes when we have in Excel, you know, sometimes we work with formulas in Excel, isn't it? But that formula may not always be, may not, because in Excel there are different ways of doing the same thing. Okay, so you now have different ways of achieving the same thing, which means somebody working with that same Excel sheet can use his own method to arrive at it. But there's one that will be more efficient. Okay, but with SQL it is just the same. The way I'm going to query the database, the same thing most times is the same thing. Okay, so there's uniformity there, and again it allows you to quickly do your analysis. So not core visualization in itself, but just basic what analysis. You can also do that. You know what you have in your pivot tables in Excel? You remember your pivot tables in Excel?
Yes.
You can also do that in SQL. Everything you are doing there, and you just see with just 3 or 4 lines of code, you have already done what you need to do. But you see, you remember when I was trying to create a report of about 700, did you see the time it took me? That we had to sit down and watch it till we finish creating that report. If you're doing that same thing in SQL, it does not take more than 2 seconds. Okay, so when it comes to large data, you need what? A database, and that language you need to use is what? SQL. And remember, we talk about security. Okay, it is more secured in what? Using what? SQL. Much more what? Secured. And another thing we mentioned again that you in SQL you separate the data from the analysis, but in your Excel, both the analysis, both the data, everything there, most time because it's mostly abused, they put it in the same place. So that's why we say best practice, always create 3 sheets. The first sheet is for what?
Keeping your main data.
Your
Data.
data. Second sheet is for what?
Analysis.
Analysis.
And third sheet is for what?
Presentation.
For the report. Okay? For the report. So to avoid making your work look very clumsy. Okay? All right. Now in SQL, please, SQL is just a normal, it's just like English language. So if you have never done coding before, it's just like English or language. That's why it's very easy to learn, okay? But you will notice that sometimes the problem that we have in programming, right? What's the major problem you think you will have in programming? Yes, what do you think will be the major problem you have in programming?
As an individual or general problem for a programmer?
It can be individual now. What kind of problem do you think you will have?
Me, basically, is formulas.
That is the codes, Abi?
Yes.
All right. And which most people, I'm sure that is the same problem that we have, is it not? The codes. That, will I remember all these codes? Please, the good news is that is the list of your problem. Okay? You know where like me, I'm not very smart. Okay? So I'm also a very slow learner. So anything that comes to coding, I'll be like, how can a human being learn all these codes like this in his brain? So because of that, sometimes it's very discouraging. And another part that used to also discourage, when you're watching movies, they are typing their keyboard, like you're wondering, how can somebody be typing all these things from his head? Please, movie is not reality. Okay? So don't think that they are all typing that code that same way. It doesn't work that way. Okay? The most important thing for you to do is to say, when I see a code, can I understand what it's trying to do? That is the most important thing. Not so that you remember everything. If it was in the past, learning programming was a little bit more difficult because everything was in the book. And you need to, and maybe you may not have had opportunity to have computer to practice it, but you just remember the code. But these days, everybody has a system, isn't it? Once you have any problem, you just type it on Google, and your solution is there. So the code is not the problem, but the problem is what? Understanding what it's doing. That is why once you understand the code, because all of them have syntax, okay? They have general rules. Once you understand it, once you see anybody's code, you can easily interpret it and know what that person is trying to achieve, okay? So please do not bother yourself and say, oh, how will I remember all these codes? Okay, you don't really need to cram all of them. Okay, now when you are using your SQL, remember we said SQL is that language you use to interact with a relational database management system, okay? But you see, there are so many syntax you are going to use, but they can group them into these 5. They can group them into these 5. You have what they call DQL. DQL means data query language. Okay? You have another one, what they call
TML.
DML, that is what? Data manipulation language. You have DDL, which is what? Data definition language. You have DCL, which is data control language. And you have DTL, which is data transaction language. Okay? Data transaction what language? Please take notes. We are not learning SQL as database administrators.
Okay.
We are learning SQL as what?
Data analyst.
Data analyst. The only thing we are going to do when we are starting is we just understand how they create the normal database. Okay? How do you update, insert, and do that? That's what we are looking at. But not as core database administrators. Okay? So that is why you will see that in one or two this thing, you already understand SQL. It's just straightforward like that. Okay? But we are going to show you how to create normal database, query database, update the database. Because when you are working in an organization that has been existing for more than 10 years, they cannot just allow you to come and you just say, okay, let me come and update, or let me come and drop the database. Nobody will allow you to do that. Because you are not employed as a database administrator, but as what? An analyst. Okay? So as an analyst, what your core skill you need with SQL is learn how to what? Connect to that database and what? Query the data. So that is why the number one this thing we need to learn is what? Select statements. Okay? So this is how we are going to classify them. So under your DQL, data what? Query language, we have what? Select statements. Select. Okay? Under DML stands for what?
Data manipulation language.
Data manipulation language. You have what? Insert, update, and what? Delete. Okay? Under DDL, which is what? Data definition language, we have what? Create, alter, and drop. And this is where we are going to stop. This is what we are going to deal with. DQL, DML, and DDL. This is for what? Core database administrators, where they can revoke your access or grant you access or revoke access.
Yeah.
Okay, where you can save or commit or roll back the database. But we are not dealing with this. This is for core database administrators. So we are going to learn, actually, as data analyst, this is what we just need, DQL, actually. But we will explain how to do all these ones so that we understand how a database works. So just think about it. That if you don't have a table, in Excel, you want to create a table, isn't it? You want to create a table, is it not? So how do you create a table in Excel?
You select
You highlight your, what's it called? The data you want to use, and you press Ctrl+.
Assuming that data was not there before.
Select a page, go to the ribbon, you select your columns and rows, you highlight them to create your columns and rows, and then you number, you title your headings.
Is it not? You create that columns and rows, is it not? Very easy, is it not? So all you have done is to what? You have defined the structure of that table. That is what data definition language does for you. You are defining that structure. So that is why under definition, we talk about what? You either create the table, create a database, create a view, or you can alter or drop. Can you see that? Now, once you have created that structure of the table, what is the next thing you do? You start populating the table, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is called what? Data manipulation language. That's why we talk about insert, update, delete. Please take note, manipulation is not fraud. Is that clear? That say, they are manipulating. When they say they are manipulating, they are doing either of them. Either they are what? Inserting, updating, or deleting.
Or deleting.
Did you get that? Now, once you have now created it, now the next thing now you now need to query it. Then you now have to now what? Select. So do you see how it works? This is how you should just think about it. Okay? So let's make progress. Now, when we are entering data, remember in Excel, we started by talking about what? The data types. Isn't it? What are the data types in Excel?
The integers.
You have what?
We have
Numbers,
Four.
text,
Yes.
Boolean, and formula.
And formulas, okay? Now, when you look at a database, right? They are just basically three types. But you see, in each of these three types, there are quite a lot. You have numeric, you have date and time, and you have what? Strings. This your string stands for what?
Text.
Text, is it not? Those are your texts. Now, when you say numeric or numbers, in Excel, we just choose any one. But here, can you see there are quite a lot? Can you see there are quite a lot? So you have big integer. So here we're talking about what? Integer. This is big integer. Can you see how big it is? What value is this?
9 billion.
Is that billion?
It's trillion.
Yeah, trillion.
Is that trillion?
So it's not trillion.
It's
Quite.
what?
I don't know how to pronounce.
Trillion.
Is that zillion?
Uncountable.
So you see, it is quite for database. You see, when we're talking about large data sets, not all this small one that Excel is dealing with. Okay, so when you come into the data type, you need to ask yourself, what is the data that is entering here? If it's your normal integer stops at where? Integer stops where?
2 billion.
Is this 2 million?
Billion.
2 billion, isn't it? So once your data is up to 2 billion, that means the right one you are going to use is what? Integer. If the number is greater than 2 billion, you are going to use what? Big int.
Big int.
If your data is just going to be, the number you are going to enter is not more than 32,000, you use what? Small int.
Small int.
If it's not going to be more than what? 255, you use what? Tiny int. If it's bit is 0 and 1. 0 and 1 is what?
Bit.
Wow.
Which is what we call it in Excel. In your Excel, what do you call it?
No,
In your Excel, what do you call this one?
Boolean.
That's your boolean. Is that not true or false?
Yes, true or
Not
false.
like your
Yes,
true or
yes,
false. Something like that.
Yes.
0 for false, 1 for true.
Yes.
So you see that bit, 1 and 0. Now, if you have decimal, that means normally we would have called it a float.
Yeah.
So if it has decimal, so this is the one we are going to use. So it all depends on the size. Okay. So some use decimal, some use numeric. Okay. Can you see they are both the same? Then if it's money, can you see now you can also use money, small money, big money. So when you talk about numbers, these are now the different types. Date and time, the same thing. You can have date, time, and please also take note of the pattern. It is also very important. So you have date, time, small date, time, dates, you have time. Then you have strings. This is your text. It can either be character, variable character marks. Can you see now in this flavor, they'll tell you SQL Server 2005 only. That means the normal one, you may not see it there. Then you now have your normal word text. So it means that if I'm going to enter just few characters, which one can I use? Maybe just for name. Which one can I use?
The first one.
I can use just character, isn't it? But if I want to just enter maybe a full page or 2 pages, what will I enter? So you see that it depends on the size of the text, okay? So most time you can either use variable character or text. They will still work. Okay, they will still work.
Sir,
But just
I have
the
a
size,
question, sir.
just the size will vary. Yes.
What if the particular string is like alphanumeric? Maybe like order ID, for example, now, or maybe customer ID.
Yes.
That is variable character.
So you can use that as what variable word character, yes, or even as a text. Any of them you use here, as long as they have number text together, then you read them as what? A string. But remember, you are the one going to define it that this data mention is a string or is a string. Okay, so it all depends on the length now. So I can use any of them, but most commonly without use varchar or text, just in case. Okay, so these are the data types, okay, that you are entering in Excel. So this is what we are going to be looking at. We are going to be looking at how do you create database, drop database, create tables, drop table or alter table. How do you drop or modify columns, rename a column, insert. But you see, all these things will be done by a database administrator. But we are just going to show how it's going to be done. How do you import data into it from Excel or CSV file, export the data, delete rows, updates, increase by number, select tables from a single table, all tables or specific columns, or even from another database.
Sorry, are you sharing your screen at the moment?
Yes, I'm sharing my screen.
Because I can't see anything. Is it my net? Oh, probably my network.
Can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can now. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so we're going to be looking at some of these syntax that will be used in database. Now, you see, before you go into this database, right, that's the SQL command is not your problem first. The thing is that you need to know what am I going to look for first. That's the most important thing. Okay, what am I going to look for first? So remember how we started by saying that there's always a problem that will lead you to start asking questions. So all those syntax we are going to look at is not really your problem. It's understanding what do I want to do. From the problem, there are certain questions. To answer those questions, what do I need? What do I need?
You need data.
I need data, isn't it? And where is that data stored?
In the DBMS.
In the what DBMS, which is your database, is it not? And for me to connect to that database, what do I need to do?
You need a software.
Yes, you have got the software now because already on the software now. So to connect to that database now, what do you need to do? Or to the data, what do you need to do? What do we need? That is the SQL syntax now, isn't it?
Okay.
So we now need the SQL. So we need SQL to what? Communicate with that what? Data what? Base. Okay? But you see, the most important thing is what? Asking the right questions first. Then once you know the question, next question now, to get this answer, where will I get it from? Okay, you get it from this data, from this data, from this data, from this data. Then that will now help me identify, okay, this is the database I now need. Okay? Now, you see, for example, we said, what does the business want? The business wants either to maximize revenue, maximize profits, increase market share, reduce costs, isn't it?
Yes.
So there are certain questions that management want to make strategic decisions about. But the most important thing is learning how to ask the right questions. And once you ask the right questions, such as how much in percentage profit from each product? What is the number of products, maybe good or bad or defective? Which is our most expensive product?
Please, I'm coming. It's time for press. Let me go and pray. I'll come back.
Okay. How many unique products do we have? You see, how much profit do we make in each category? Okay, which region sells the most? Which of our employee has the highest salary? Who has the second highest salary? You see that? Who has the highest salary per department? So these are different questions you can start with, but it's about knowing what the right questions to ask. Once you can ask the right questions, it means now you know your objective. My objective is to answer those questions I have asked. And for me to answer those questions, I need data, which I'm now going to connect to that database. Okay, so once we know where that data is located in the database, then we now need to connect to it. And to connect to it, we now need you to speak the language of the database, which is your SQL. Okay, then another thing you must also have at the back of your mind is that even when you know that, okay, this is SQL, but also have at the back of your mind what the result should look like, whether it's even answering the question you want. It's just like saying which department has the highest profit, which department has the highest profit, but the result is giving you the branches. Are they the same thing? Department and branches, are they the same thing?
No.
So you see, intuitively, you should know whether this result is right or wrong. Okay, so you must also have a rough sketch of what the result should look like. Okay, and at the end of the day, we now need to interpret those results, because that is the basis on which we are going to make decisions. Is that clear? So this is just the whole process. It's about asking questions. Based on that, you know your objective, and to answer those questions, you need a database. And to connect to that database, you need to query the data, and you now have your results. Okay, is this clear?
Yes.
All right. If you have thought about that whole process now when we are typing in SQL, now these are things you should take note of. Note them. That anytime I write an SQL command, I should always end it with a semicolon, best practice. But the truth is that even if you don't use semicolon, it will still run. But there are some DBMS that if you don't put that semicolon, it will not run at all. Okay, so best practice, always end each line with a semicolon. So whenever you say semicolon, what does that mean? That is the end of that syntax. Okay. Now, every SQL syntax should be in capital letter. For example, select statement, that select should be capital letter. But the good part about SQL is that it is not case sensitive. So whether I write in capital letter, lowercase, proper this thing, it will still work. But best practice, all your SQL syntax should be in capital letter. Then the other ones can be in the lowercase. Okay. Now, each command should be on a separate line so that you can read it. Don't just put everything on one line. Better after you put everything, just put them line by line so you can be reading them easily. Then another thing you should take note of. If I want to write employee table, don't go and type employee space table like in Excel. SQL does not understand this space. Did you get that? So instead of space, what are you going to use? You are going to use what? An underscore. So rather, you are going to write it like this: employee underscore table, not employee space table. So instead of using a space, what do you use?
Underscore.
Underscore. Okay. Now, another thing you should take note of, because Excel, Excel works with cells, isn't it? Excel works with cells. But when you're working with a database, your database is made up of rows and records and fields, is it not? After every field, when I say a field, what do I mean by a field? After every field, what do you mean by a field?
Column.
A column, is not. After every column, put a comma there. After every column, put what? A comma. So that we can separate each of the words, columns. Okay? So sometimes after every command line, we just put a comma there just to show, okay, this is where it's going to, this column ends. But your last column, you will not put a comma there. And we are going to explain that for you. But just take note, after every column, put what? A comma, except the last word column. Now, in case you import your data sets maybe from Excel or an ERP, and we said that Excel does not understand, SQL does not understand this space when you are creating it. But if you have imported it and this space is coming in, the only way you are going to read it is to use what? This quotation mark. Can you see this quotation mark here? Now, this is not even quotation mark, this is inverted comma. And where do you find this inverted comma? Can you see your escape button? Do you see your escape button? Look at your keyboard. Do you see the escape button?
Yes, sir.
Just look below it. Just look below it. You will see a sign there, a symbol there, like a is it ellipse sign? Just close to the left of one, you will see the inverted comma there. Different from your single quotation mark that you have close to your enter button. So it is this one that you are going to be using, not your single quotation mark. Otherwise, it has a different its own rule. So that's why we type it like this: select product name. Can you see the inverted comma there? Because whenever we have this space, we are going to use this inverted comma. Then, when you are finished writing it, to run it, you just highlight and click run. Or sometimes you press F5, shortcut F5. But depending on your flavor, but just highlight it and click run. That's all. Then another thing you should be careful of is that be careful of the spelling. Customer is not the same thing as customers. Did you get that? So sometimes you may try and you'll be seeing the error. You are reading, you say, this is customer table, but what was written there was customers. You can spend the whole distance, and that thing can be very frustrating. So please take notes. As you write, if I write the syntax, it will run straight. When you write it, it will give you error. You'll be shouting, hey, what has happened? But I'm typing exactly what is typing. Just little things like this can make the difference. Okay? And please take note, as you are learning, the more errors you make, you should be happy. Don't be frustrated, be happy. You know why? You know why you should be happy when you're making more errors?
Why, sir?
Because a man on the ground fears no fall, isn't it? I've already made mistake now. I cannot fall more than this now. So the only thing is that you now say, okay, this is why. So by the time you have got that correction, you have already learned it and you will not make that mistake again. But if every time I'm typing it and you are typing the same time, you are getting it, you are not learning. No. The only time you learn is when you make what? Mistakes. Okay? So we are going to learn from mistakes. Because when you are going to be learning on your own, you also see that sometimes the syntax you need, you will run it, is giving you error. But because you already understand the basics of it, you can easily identify, okay, this is where the error is coming from. then you now make that correction. Okay. So whenever you see errors, do not be alarmed. Okay. Be happy and say, okay, this is what I need to do. So once you see where the error is, just copy that error. If you are alone, if you want to learn it, just copy the error. Go to Google, go and dump it there. They will carry you to one page there. The first page is called Stack Overflow. It's called what? Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow is the place where all programmers go. Whether you are a beginner, whether you are a hacker, this is where everybody goes to. Because we may be divided by languages, but we are united by what? Stack Overflow. Irrespective of the language you want to learn, whether it is SQL, whether it is Python, whether it is Java, whether it's HTML, just go and put your program, go and dump it there. A solution is there for you. Okay? If you don't find the solution there, it means your problem is bigger than what? Stack Overflow. Okay? So those are the basic things that we just need to take note of. Then we can kick off. Okay, so now we can go to my workbench. But if most of us have not installed, Shay, have you installed your own MySQL workbench?
Sir, I have installed it. I've downloaded this. I didn't even install. But the thing is, at first it said that one prerequisite for it, which was C++. So I'm trying to, and I've even tried to download C++, but I don't know. Everything, the C++ I downloaded was saying that my .NET something, which I tried to update. Sir, it's complicated. I don't know. I have all of it.
That's why the video there. Okay, I said, okay, let me look for. So you see, whenever you have an issue like that, let me tell you what you should do. You just go to YouTube, right? Just say how to install my SQL.
Sir, I watched it.
And it didn't work.
One thing is, the ones I watched, once they download, immediately it's installed. Like
yes.
My SQL was installed. My own, instead of installing, it was bringing out that information that I need one prerequisite program for
that
it.
you needed to install something before it starts.
Sir?
I said that means you needed to install some things before you can install that.
Yes, so now I have to go and download what's it called? C++. That one, yes. Don't worry, I will show you all those
okay, so let us. All right, that's fine. So
yes. Maybe
okay,
later
but let's just briefly introduce ourselves to my workbench.
Okay, sir.
Let me just close that.
Coach, I'm done with downloading the what's it called?
If you are done with downloading now, then just start installing now. That is the 400 megabyte. Yes, Shay, that's what is the file of your installation? Is it 42?
Let me check.
If it's that 42, that's why I think that's the problem. Look for.
So should I choose developer default or server only?
Developer. You can use developer.
So you say I should not use the 32 bar?
Yes, go to where you say install others. I showed it here. So that you can have the whole this thing. So or you can see, you see if you are choosing setup type, you will see developer, server, client, full, custom. If you want to choose custom, anyone, but just to save your time, that way I just say okay, just choose developer, or you can just select certain ones. Okay.
Okay, so I'll try and do it now.
On this one on that video, let me just see. There was one video I sent. Let me jump it here.
The video, I was not looking for it on Canvas. I could not get it. I don't even know which of it. Too many.
Okay, I've sent one on the chat. So I've sent one on the chat.
Okay.
You can just open that and follow it.
Okay, sir.
But please take note when you are. So if you open the, let me see that now. Okay, when I open the workbench now, can you see welcome to my SQL workbench, right? So they have the command line part that look like Microsoft does. That one looks very scary. Okay, but with this workbench, it makes it look more user friendly. That's why I use it the GUI, graphical user interface. It now makes it more friendly. Now, please take note when you are installing. There's a username we are going to tell you, and that username is called root. It's called what? Root. Now, that root, it will tell you to put a password there. Please don't forget that password.
It cannot
Don't
be
for-
retrieved.
Not that you cannot retrieve, that means you have to hack the database. So don't forget that password. Okay? Now, so once you have put the password, like mine was disabled, so it is easy for me. But when you are doing it, it will ask you for a password. So always what? Remember that password. Just write it somewhere down. Okay? Now, localhost means this is on my system. That's why it's called localhost. Okay? Your user is root. Where is it located? On this system. But if you're in an organization, it will give you to a server where they'll give you like an IP to connect to it. Okay? But in this our case, because you are using your system, it will be what? Local host. Now, the reason why this is important, when we are going to be doing Power BI, we are going to be connecting our database to Power BI. But you need this thing to connect to it, and that's why you must remember this your root as username and password. Then you now tell you which server you using or which database. Okay? But if you are using what they call it now, SQL, Microsoft SQL Server. If you are using Microsoft SQL Server, so let me share that. If you are using Microsoft SQL Server, does it open? Okay. So can you see Microsoft SQL Server? Can you see the database? This is the server name. Okay, this is the server name. That's what you need in your own case, the server name. Then if he asks you for password, you can now put the password. If you want to use your Windows authentication or use your SQL Server, you put your login and password. Otherwise, just use your normal Windows authentication. That's all. Then you connect. Okay, and that's it. Then you connect. But for Microsoft SQL, for the my SQL, so just double click here. That's all. If you ask you for password, you enter the password already inside. So let me open a new query there. All right. I hope my screen is showing. My SQL workbench, is it showing?
Yes.
All right. Now let's look at this. Most time, this is how it will appear. This is how it's going to appear, right? So it's as if you don't know what you are doing. Is it not? When you come here, you ask yourself, what am I doing here now? Right? Now remember that what is the role of a database?
Is to house data.
So where? You said to what?
It's to store data.
To store the data, is it not? It's to what? Store what? The data. But you see, but how will I know where the data is now? Remember that one of the concepts we looked at is called what? A schema. Do you see administration here? This one just giving you a basic understanding of the whole thing. But what you need here is the schema. Can you see schema? Schema just contains all the databases here, all the databases. Do what you are seeing here. That's the schema. It just shows you all the data what bases. Okay. But another thing you can just do, if you don't know the database, you just say, okay, remember there was a problem. We have raised the questions. To answer that question, we need the data. It means that that data is stored in a database. I don't know the database name, right? But I know it's stored in a database, right? So what I can do is to say, okay, let me see all the databases here in English language. Show me all databases, is it not? So just type show databases. That's all. Show what? Databases. And run it. Can you see what has happened? It has shown you what? All the database in this system. Do you see that? Are we seeing it? Are we seeing it? Hello.
Yes, you've seen it, sir.
All right. So show database. Show database. What does it do?
It displays all the
databases there.
Yes.
That's all. But you see, where you need to understand that we say SQL now. For example, if you're doing this on Microsoft SQL Server, it doesn't understand this syntax called show. That's where the difference will now be. But instead, it will tell you what you now use what they call the select statement. Okay, but I'll get to select statement much later. But let me just show you my SQL. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, I want to see all the database. So I'll say show databases. Okay, now if I want to see all the tables in this database, what can I do? I will say show what?
tables.
Now, if you say show tables, actually, it can also be right, but we need to be sure which of the database. Okay? That is why it did not show here. But if I have looked at this database, right? Let me show you again. Show databases. Let's pick one database. Which database should we pick here?
Elite.
Alumni.
Alumni, okay? So I want to use this alumni here. So I will say, I want to tell my SQL, use this alumni because that is database I want to use. So I'll just type use what? Alumni. Use alumni, what does it do? What does it do? Use alumni, what does it do? This syntax here. What is it doing?
I'm not seeing anything. No.
I ran it here now. I just ran it here. Just say zero, but it work now. Can you see? Anytime you see
Okay.
X
29
means
rows. 29 rows returned.
no, that was for show database.
Okay, 0. Okay, yeah, this is 0, 0.
But use alumni. When I use it, isn't it? What did it do there? It's simply telling what my SQL that you have 29. How many databases? You have 29 databases. Out of all this one, I want to use one. Which one am I using?
Alumni.
Alumni. That's all. That's what I've done there. I've specified the database I want to use. Now, in a database, it's made up of what? Tables, is it not?
Yes.
That is why if I go to alumni like this, can you see that a database is made up of what? Tables, views, stored procedures, and functions. That is why we say a database can be a table, but a table may not be a database. Because a database is more than tables. Okay? It's more than what tables. Which means for me to see all the tables in the alumni, what do? I'll say show what? Tables. Can you see that? How many tables do we have here?
2.
2.
Tables. What are they?
Alumni members and HR.
And HR. which means if I want to look at the content of, which of them do you want to see?
Alumni members.
Alumni members. So I'll just say select, which means I want to select star, which means show me everything from where?
Alumni table.
From alumni
Alumni member.
members. Underscore member. You understand why that underscore is there, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. And that's all. And as data analyst, this is actually what you basically need. How do you select data? That's all. So let's go back again. Let's say HR. Let's check. Do we have anything in HR? So if I want to select data from HR, how do I select?
Select.
Star from.
Star from
HR.
HR.
Run.
This column, what does it tell you?
That's the hand.
That's what?
The hand. Oh, that's
the end of that statement, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I take it and run. Can you see the run?
Yes, sir.
I click it there. So you see, it is more about what you want to do rather than the syntax itself. Okay, now we have done this. Okay, you will now notice that sometimes the database may be so large, right? Okay, let me replicate this in a Microsoft SQL Server. So let's see the differences now. Okay, let's see the differences now. Are we clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Are we clear?
Yes.
Good. Okay, we'll come back to this now, but let me show you in Microsoft SQL Server. So Microsoft SQL Server. So can you see my Microsoft SQL Server here? If I click new query will just take me to a new page. Okay, so I want to, so if I want to see all the databases here, what did we do? In MySQL, what did we do?
Show database.
Show what?
Databases.
Show databases. Isn't it?
Yes.
Now let's run this. Execute. Can you see execute? F5. Now, what error did it tell you? What error did it? It does not know this syntax called what? Show, which means that show is for what? My SQL. So rather, what it will understand select star from where? System dot what? Databases. This is what it will understand. So if I run this, can you see now to show me all of them? So can you see how the language is a little bit
different?
different, but they are similar. Which one? Let's say customers, isn't it? So I will say use what? Use customers. And what does use customers? What does it do? Use customers. What does it do?
It makes it selects customers as your.
It means that in the memory, you are going to only use what? The customers what? Database. Did you get that? So now I want to see the tables inside customers. Okay. Now, if I say show tables, Microsoft SQL Server does not understand the syntax called show, isn't it? But what does it understand?
Select
It understands
from.
what? Select, is it not?
Yeah.
Select star from where?
Customers.
Now, just the way we have system databases means show me all these databases in the system. Remember that where all databases are stored is called what? A schema, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's called the schema, is that not? So I'll say select star from what? Information what? Information schema dot tables. How the spelling of information is correct? If it's not correct, then it will give an error. So check
R before him.
R.
Before him.
Okay, yes, information schema. Yeah. Can you see all of them now? Why did he show me this? Because I have selected the memory. Which data did I select in memory?
Customers.
Customers. Otherwise, if I had not put it in memory, isn't it? It would have, if I just say select this, isn't it? And I not put it in memory, right? It would have just, what would have done would have just selected all the tables for me. But now that I have selected it, and I said, okay, show me the table. So which table do we want to see now?
Customers. Okay.
What table do you want to see now?
Product
Yeah?
sales table.
Sales table, isn't it? So how do I pick sales table now?
Select from
Select.
star
Star
from
from sales table.
Star means, what does star mean?
Oh,
many.
Pick everything for me. Give me everything, isn't it? Select star from where now?
from customers table.
From where?
From customers.
From customers. Okay, if you say customer, customers is what? Customers is what? Customers is the
The
database name.
database, yes. Yes.
It's just like saying, what is your surname? My surname is Okoye. What is my own name? My name is Francis. The database, so if I say Okoye, Okoye means it's like my family name. That is your database. Your specific name is your own table. You understand that?
Customer sales table.
Yes. So it's just like saying, so if I say customers dot sales table, it means that what? Sales table. It means I am picking what? The name and what? Surname. But you see one thing, if you pick it this way in if you pick it this way in your my SQL, it's going to work. But for your SQL server, right? If I run it this way, once you see that red line already, just giving you an error already. Okay. And the reason is that rather than pick that, let me show you why it's not working. Instead of picking that now, what you'd have just simply have done, you'd have just used DBO. Can you see DBO? Can you see it? I'm picking the table schema dot sales table. Can you see now it has worked? Have you seen that?
Yes.
So whenever you are working with my SQL, Microsoft SQL server, this is the best way to pick it. DBO dot, it will just pick it straight. But if I have used, let's try it another way. What if I have not selected, assume I say select star from, I say customers dot DBO dot what now?
Customer sales table.
Sales table. Can you see I've picked everything in full? Can you see that?
Yes.
This is how it works. Are we clear with this? Because in most organizations, they either use Microsoft SQL Server or they will use Oracle, isn't it? But you see why I'm starting with my SQL, because that is the easiest way that you can actually understand it. Every other syntax you are going to be doing, they are going to be similar, but it is actually easier to work with them. Okay, so let's make progress. So let's go back. I hope this is clear now, right?
Yes.
All right, let's go back. Now, what I have done at in Microsoft SQL Server, if I wanted to show tables, how did I show tables in Microsoft SQL Server? How did I show tables in Microsoft SQL Server?
You use select.
Select what? Tab
Tab.
from where? Information what?
Uh,
Information schema, is it not?
yes.
Not tables. Is that what I ran?
Yes.
Can you see it still works here?
Okay.
You see that it still works here?
Yes, sir.
So you see, there are some things that will work in both. There are some that will only work specifically to this. When I wanted to check databases in Microsoft SQL Server, how did I check databases?
Select from
Select
start from.
from where? System dot what data what basis. Is that not what I ran?
Yes.
What did it tell me?
Error.
Error, isn't it?
Error
Even if I say
146.
database, let's say database. Database. If it doesn't understand database, let's say database. Let's run. You see, it does not work in. So can you see where the where the language vary now? But you already understand what you are trying to achieve. So when you are doing my SQL Server, you can either use this, show databases, isn't it? Alternatively, if I have used this, it will also work for me. Information schema.tables, because with this one, it's going to show me all my database. That is my table schemas, right? If I go through it, you see those are my databases. Can you see my databases? Those are my database. Do you remember my customers database? And my table name. Which means if I want to pick anyone from here, let's pick anyone. Pick any other table. Let's see. Pick any other table. Pick any other table
Customer
you
record.
want to.
Customer record. Transaction.
Customer record, is it not?
Yes.
Now, did we use in this database? Which one did we use?
We use alumni.
We use alumni, isn't it? So it means
Yes.
that I have not told my SQL that I want to use customers database, is it not?
Yes.
So if I have not told you that I want to use customers, that means when I'm calling it, I have to call it by its son name and name.
Okay.
And the son name is what?
DF.
The son name is what? Which of them is the son name now?
Customer.
Customers, is it not? So customers, that's the son name. Dot what?
DF.
Which one?
Customer. Customer records.
Customer records. Customer records. But you see, there's nothing there. But it showed me ID, customer name, segment, and gender. But there's nothing there. So what did you notice? If I want to use a particular database in memory, then I will use that particular one. But if I still want to call another database that I didn't store in memory, I can use it by calling it what? Son name and what? The name of the table. That is database name and the name of the table. So that's why best practice, so that you don't have any issues, just use what? Let's pick another one. Maybe let's try another one that has data. Let's try another one. Which other one again? Let's try on that one. Yes, which other one can we try?
Product.
Product. Where do we see
Yeah.
product?
Lead.
Okay, product. So I want to check the
Left.
product, isn't it? So
Yeah.
let's check. So
Select.
select
Star.
star from where?
From a lead.
From where?
A lead.
Okay, AI leads. Okay,
Yeah.
dot what?
Dot product.
Product. All right. Clear?
Okay. Yeah, it's clear like this. So, sir, if we want to make this AI lead our what is it called? Our memory, what is it called? Database.
Yes.
So we just start with what we start at the beginning.
Yes, use AI. Then in that case, I don't need to. So in that case, once I've called it to memory, if I now want to select that product, what will I do? I'll just say select start from where? Product. You know why? Because AI lead is already memory. It's already the database is already there.
Okay, we don't need to use the name and the surname
No, you
again.
don't need a hey, you don't need to use the name, the database name again. Because in memory, it already has that
We already have it.
database.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
So you can actually pick, you don't have to pick the table that is directly in front of the database.
No, you
From
can
that,
pick any table. You can pick any
you can
table.
pick any table from that
Any table.
list.
Yes.
Nothing with the database.
You can pick different tables from different databases.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
Shay, are you clear?
Yes, sir.
No,
Shay is not clear. Where is not clear for you?
at a point, I think my data was exhausted, so I was offline. I just came back not quite long.
Okay, sorry. Where were you lost?
So I don't even know again. No,
I
I
don't
will.
Okay, okay. Just recap. Let's just recap, right? Show database. Do you know what
Okay,
it's
yes,
doing?
sir.
Do you know what show
Yes,
database
yes.
is doing? What does it do?
To bring out all the databases.
All the database here, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, because this is not, if it was in Microsoft SQL Server, this is what I would have used. Is it not? This is what I would have used.
Yes, sir.
Show, is it not? But this is my SQL. It doesn't understand system, the database, okay? Now that I have seen the database I want to use, right? I now say, okay, we want to use alumni database, is it not? So we now say, use alumni. But if I don't want to use alumni, I can use any other one. Okay, which means if I want to see both the database and the table name, then what do I use? What do I type? I'll say what? Select what? Start from what? Information what? Schema. Dot
Schema,
what?
dot
Table.
tables.
Remember, what does schema tell you? Schema is all this your database here. It's giving you the information about this word schema. But what specifically am I looking for? I'm looking for what? The tables. Is that clear?
Tables.
So when I
Yes,
run that, this is an alternative way of doing it. It will give me the schema, the table, is not that the database and the table name. Then I can now check.
Okay. Okay.
But if I had used this one, use AI leads, isn't it? And I say show tables. It will only show me tables where?
On alumni.
In
AI.
alumni.
Okay.
Is it not? But if I use this one will show me what?
All the tables.
Both the database name and the tables. Can you see that? If I go to,
Yes, sir.
is that AI leads? So this alumni, isn't it? When we ran the first one, we saw what? HR and what? Alumni members, isn't it?
Members, yes, yes, sir.
Along with the database name. But with this one, it will only show me the tables in only alumni.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, if I
Okay.
want to now select the table, now which of the tables do you want to see now?
Alumni members.
So you want to see alumni members. So the first thing that if I know it's alumni I want to use, I'll just say use alumni.
Okay.
And when I say, okay, show me the tables in alumni, that show me just two.
Okay.
And you say you want to see. Hello?
Okay, so alternatively, even if you don't put that table in memory, will it still work? Like when you say
Yes,
select?
that's what we are seeing now. Yes. This is,
Okay.
I've shown you two versions.
Yeah.
If I don't want to put
yes.
it in memory, I can now say, okay, select what?
Yes, from that. Okay.
Select everything from where? What's the name of the database?
Alumina.
Alumni.
Alumni.
Okay.
Alumni. Dot.
Yeah.
What's the table name you want?
Okay.
Alumni member.
Alumni member.
Yes, then I will run it like this.
Okay. There's still one thing.
If I don't
there's
commit it to memory.
Okay.
But if I commit it to memory, that means when I say use alumni, then I don't need to use the database name. Since it's already in memory, I'll just run this one.
Okay.
Okay.
It's quite different from Microsoft and Oracle SQL.
So what does it do in that one?
No, that one, even if you don't commit it in memory and you don't do that, once you call the table, it displays automatically.
Now, it does not just display because remember when I showed you, you have to call both the surname dot
Yeah.
then to run straight. It's still the same thing.
Okay, and again, another thing I want to ask, in programming languages, what does this dot stand from? Because even in Python, sometimes you see using dot something or
Dot means,
something.
so look at it, it's just like saying, look at it, you just say surname and your first name, are they the same thing?
No.
So I want to
Either
just
it's con-
separate them, isn't it? I want to
Is it-
separate them. So this is your surname, end it there, that's the dot. Then continue with his name, his first name, then I will continue the next one.
Okay.
So the essence of that dot is just to separate. Okay, I have done this. I want to now call up something else.
Okay.
That's what that dot is doing there.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
So all we have done is that the first thing is that even if you don't understand what is happening, I need to first of all know all the database first, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, when I have now seen all the database now, the next thing I need to ask myself, which of these data do I need? Which of the tables do I need? Because remember that
Yes, sir.
all these your database, they are all in your schema, isn't it?
Yes.
And you now notice that in a database is not just made up of tables, it is made up of what? Views, stored procedures, and what? Functions. This is what makes up a database. Okay? So even if I say, okay, I want this table, can you see this table? Can you see this, your table? Can you see your columns?
Yes.
Can you see how it's not breaking them further? But this is what we are used to, just the table aspect. But it is more than that. It is more than that. Okay? So in a typical database, you have your tables, you have your views, you have your stored procedure, you have your functions. So these are for core database administration. Almost usually your tables, data analyst. There may be views. Okay? But stored procedure is you writing this thing there. And whenever you want to call it up, you just write it straight. But I don't think we are going to get up to that point. But this is what we just need. Tables mostly. Because as data analysts, it's tables we work with. Okay? Now, we have seen the table that we want. We now need to select the table. So all we need to do, just say select everything. But if I don't want to select everything from the table, then what can we do? So we ran, so I want to see the one that has full table. Which of the tables we ran that has a lot of data there? customer records, right? Let's see. Okay, HR. Let's see HR.
AI lead.
Yeah, HR. Okay, HR. Okay. Now, this is the whole data, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, I don't want the whole data. I just want part of the data. So what part of data do you want? Tell me what columns you want to see.
Qualification.
You want to see what?
Qualification.
You want to see qualification.
Gender.
You want to see gender.
Year of birth.
You want to see year of birth.
Underscore. Yeah.
You want to see year of birth.
Level of performance.
Is that level of last performance?
Okay, last performance score. Yes.
Last performance score. Any other thing? Okay, if this is all you need, you now say from where? From where?
From HR, customer records. From customer.
HR, isn't it? From
Yeah.
HR, because we have committed alumni to the memory, isn't it? Otherwise, I would have typed alumni.hr,
Okay.
isn't it?
Okay.
But because we have already say use alumni,
HR.
isn't it? Then I just say from HR. Then in that case, I will only bring out this. So anytime you tell IT, I need this data. Give me qualification, give me gender, give me year of birth, give me last performance. IT will say, I'm coming. Isn't it? Then when they get it, they will now say export. Then they will now say, what do you want to call it? Let's say employee record. This is how the data will then come to you in form of a CSV file. And we have exported it. So let me open it now for you. Employee record. Where did I see that thing? Employee record, yeah. Let me share my screen. So can you see employee record now? Can you see my Excel screen now? Hello, am I sharing my Excel screen now?
Yes, you are. You are.
Okay. So you see that record we query, this is it now. Then you can now do your analysis here.
Okay.
So, sir, this particular aspect of it now is just for extraction.
Exactly. Remember we said in the data analytics pipeline, the first step is to get the data. The next step is what? Analyze. Then the next one is what? Visualize. That is why as data analyst, hello.
He is talking.
As data analyst, one of the core skills you will need is to learn how to what? Query the data. That's why you need to learn what? SQL. Okay? Who was asking the question? Are you clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So these are the basic things. So programming, is it difficult? Is writing code, is it difficult?
This one
No,
is
sir.
not difficult, but
See, let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. If you did not learn anything throughout in SQL and you learned only this one, that is all the only skill you actually need. Actually, that's the only skill you need.
okay.
You understand? They give you access to the database. What do you want to do? Select the columns you need. Now that's all. I don't need the whole thing. If I want the whole thing, then I say start from that. That's all. That's the only thing you have learned. That's all.
No, sir. How did you create those? How did you create those tables in the database?
We are coming now. This is just an introduction. Remember what I keep telling you,
This is just you are just querying here.
Yes, your
Would
job
not,
as a data
would not
analyst,
define.
your job as a data is not to create table. It's
Just to
not to
create.
create database. It is the database administrator that is his role to do that. Your own role is just to what? Connect to that database, take whatever data you need to do, then start analyzing. Then this one, if I want to analyze it, how do I analyze the data? I'll go to where? Insert, isn't it? Or I can just quickly control what? T.
Sorry, coach. There are still some, what's it called? MCU cells.
Yes, now, don't worry. We'll come to it. Isn't it?
Yes.
I can create that, insert, isn't it? Go to my pivot table, is it not table 1? So remember, we just said always what? Label, let's say employees. So insert, pivot table, employees. Okay. So what do I want to see? Gender. So how many gender do we have? Let's categorize that. Okay, we have that. So here's my gender, total, let's say number. Isn't it? And I can quickly do my visualizations here. You say, oh, this is already just in a second. This is what you do as a data analyst. So all we have been doing is that they were giving you data, they were giving you the data to use. But where did that data come from? That's what we are now doing. That's what we are now showing you. It comes from the database. But to communicate with that database, you need to learn the language called what? SQL. Okay, I think we can end the session here today. When we come next week on Saturday, then we will now start showing you how to create the tables, insert, update, and do the rest. Okay, but for now, this basic. Clear?
Okay.
Sorry, coach.
Thank you.
Can you share us any, what's it called? Database that I can work with.
Can I share what?
Any, what's it called? Any database file that I can work with.
If you go to your canvas, there's a database file there.
Okay.
If you go to your canvas, go to SQL, check the last one, you see something manufacturing. You see okay, so please try and watch that video of how to install.
Sir.
Yes. Or what you can do. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. You said I should not download the one that has that 4 point something. I should download the one
that has about how many 400 and what?
The one beneath bar.
No, let me look at. I opened it. Where was it? Okay, let me open it again. So